Background. A study.
To try to tell the stories that get shelved.
Or silenced.
Forgotten. Or simply never heard.
Ever. The Who.
Lived in zip codes 48197.
9-8.
Received rent assistance.
Medicaid or lacked money to pay bills.
Lived alone.
Served as a caregiver.
For an individual over 60.
Who lived in zip codes 48197.
9-8.
Received rent assistance.
Medicaid.
Or lacked money to pay bills.
In 2040, and well, today too,
Life for everyone.
Mothers.
Fathers.
Brothers, sisters,
Spouses.
neighbors,
Doctors.
social workers,
Street cleaners.
home builders,
Bus drivers.
bean counters, caregivers,
Mothers.
Fathers.
brothers and sisters,
Spouses.
neighbors.
Will be shaped by how we respond or how we don't.
How we understand.
breathe in, breathe out.
The greatest equalizer among us.
Aging.
Getting old,
Giving up.
Giving in.
Living in.
living,
Existing.
average age,
61.7.
Average age of non-caregiver.
73.4.
the aging taking care of the aging.
In this world, these caregivers
Live in zip
Received
code
rent assistance.
Live
Medicaid or
alone.
lacked money
4819798.
to pay bills.
Live
Live in
alone.
zip
Received
code
rent assistance.
4819798.
Medicaid or lacked money
One.
to pay bills.
or all of the following.
Overseeing medical care.
Dealing with emergencies,
Providing transportation.
Assistance with meals and nutrition.
Handling finances.
attending to miscellaneous details,
Like finding and retrieving.
Misplaced items.
or rearranging things to the person's liking.
Thomas.
Promised to get rid of flowers in a vase that his mother noted.
We're dying.
And to move her.
Hama figurines out of the way of the window blinds.
Move in and through.
Just the daily amount of mental work.
Required of
Caregivers.
is exhausting. After my hip replacement, I was unable to drive for 2 weeks, which did not allow me to visit my mother, give her her shots, set up her medications for the next day. I need to be there every day. So sometimes I was able to pay for a coworker nurse to go in my place. Sometimes my wife would go, and sometimes I was able to get a ride and used a walker to get into her apartment to help her.
Tracy. I might not be there, but I'm doing things in the background.
Alvina.
Every day, I think about my mother. Her health, her will, what she's doing, is she okay? Have they changed her pull-up on a regular? Whatever. On this vacation, I said I just wasn't going to think about my mother. I just want to get to a point where I just don't think about her. I want to experience that. I just couldn't turn it off.
My diet suffers when my mom is in need of a lot of care. If she had an episode or there's a lot going on, I wouldn't necessarily have time to cook for myself. Or I'm just tired. And then I'm stuck going through the drive-thru. So I've neglected myself.
I became horrifically ill over a period of several months while I was taking care of my mother and my own home. I mean, it was a horrible nightmare. Nobody even knew what was wrong with me. All of a sudden, I was unable to lift her wheelchair, help her to walk, feed her. I mean, give my mother the care she was used to receiving from me. And I just had to come to terms with the fact that I wasn't going to be able to spend time with my mother. Eventually, the doctor diagnosed me with lupus. They say the first to go down is the caregiver, and I'm just trying not to fall.
How about Limelight Productions led by Professor Decky Alexander? How about that? Great job, guys. It's a somber note, but it's a really important way to start off tonight. Greetings and welcome, everyone. My name is Neil Hadra. I'm the CEO of the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation. That sampling of a longer performance that you just saw is a great culmination of some of the elements and themes we want to share with you tonight. We want to talk about data for identifying issues and creating solutions. We want to talk about the arts, and the arts as a way of communicating, the arts as a way of bringing community members together. We want to talk about community voice, elevating the voices of those we seek to serve. And we want to share with you different ways in which the foundation is engaging in becoming more representative of all residents of Washtenaw County. The Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation really seeks to be a foundation that's by the community and for the community. To that end, we've been working really hard over the last few years to start convening more and more people together, to learn, to debate, to plan, to make grants, and to connect. In the past 12 months, we've actually hosted over 2,200 community members at various gatherings and over 750 community members in our expanded offices. And although we convene more and more, we also want to recognize that we have some new faces who may not be familiar with the Community Foundation model. So bear with me, I'm going to cover a few of the basics so that we're all sort of level set and on the same page. And throughout the program, based on feedback we've gotten over the last few years, we will combine themes of what we've done in the past year, what we're thinking about going forward, as well as some of the basics of what makes us a unique model in Washtenaw County. So first and foremost is the mission. The mission of the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation is to enrich the quality of life in Washtenaw County through philanthropy. We serve all facets of community. You name it, we do it. Health, human services, education, environment, arts and culture, civic engagement. I could go on and on. It's one thing I really love about being at a community foundation. I've heard some refer to us as a savings account for the community, and I think that's an apt description. We are unique in Washtenaw County in that we are a public charity that specializes in community endowment. That phrase, community endowment, you're going to hear over and over again tonight because it's at the heart and soul of what we do and how we think. So let me talk a little bit about what we mean by that phrase, community endowment. First of all, you have to understand that when I say community endowment, I'm actually referring to a bundle of over 550 charitable funds, each individual, that were started being founded at the Community Foundation as early as 1963. Over 55 years, with the support of thousands of individuals, these funds were established and grown, and they are intended to be permanent in nature. So let me explain that for a minute. Our goal at the Community Foundation is that every gift to every fund that's permanent at the foundation will retain its value forever and produce grants and scholarships for the community. Pretty good trick, right? So how do we do that? What we do is we take the assets from all the funds, we pool them, and we invest them so that over time they will grow. Through that growth, we do two things. We make sure we maintain the inflation-adjusted value of the gifts into the funds. So the gifts from 1963 are still at work today. And then we take some of the excess growth beyond that, and we produce grants and scholarships for the community. Another thing I love about our model is that over 400 volunteers across dozens of committees actually help us make decisions on how to distribute grants and scholarships in a way that maximizes the impact of the thousands of donors who've had faith in the Community Foundation to enrich the quality of life. Endowment is steady, it's reliable, it's growing, it's adaptive to changing needs over time, and what I love the most is that it's the rare form of patient capital. We have the privilege, the burden, and the luxury of taking the long view with philanthropy, and we do just that. There's more to come on the themes that I just mentioned to you, but for now, I'm really pleased to turn it over to our Vice President for Philanthropy, Shelley Strickland, who's going to share with you a really powerful illustration of how one individual made an investment in Washtenaw County that's being realized through the power of permanent endowment.
Thanks, Neil. At last year's annual community meeting, I had the privilege of announcing an amazing $16 million estate gift to the community by Helmut Stern, a true Renaissance man who wanted to support in perpetuity the community that had embraced him initially as a young immigrant and entrepreneur. Our board of trustees carefully deliberated for many months on ways to honor his amazing tribute to Washtenaw County. We believe Helmut gave to the community through the Community Foundation because we serve the entire community, as Neil said, and can distribute support broadly and forever. The majority of Helmut's $16 million gift was established as a permanent endowed fund, the Helmut Stern Community Legacy Fund, that will be distributed in perpetuity through annual competitive grants and support for nonprofits. To incentivize others in the community to follow Helmut's example of estate planning and philanthropy, AAACF allocated $2 million of his gift to be distributed through the Stern Legacy Challenge, 2 matches that both honor the intentions of endowment, broad community impact, and philanthropy in perpetuity. In August 2018, the foundation launched the first challenge, the Stern Nonprofit Endowment Match, which matched new gifts to nonprofit endowment funds held at AACF at 50% up to $50,000 per nonprofit. In just 5 months, 145 donors and 50 nonprofit organizations raised $1 million for these permanent funds, augmented by an additional $500,000 in matching dollars. Give our community a hand. We believe this response speaks to the power of endowment as a concept. Neil explained endowment, and I'll share another way we think about it. Just as individuals have a checking account that covers annual expenses, we each ideally want to have a savings account as a rainy day fund, and we also want to plan for retirement. You establish that retirement account after you've first built up your financial assets to cover expenses, and you don't tap into your retirement account prematurely, and the IRS will penalize you if you do, which is why you have a savings account. A corollary for nonprofit organizations is to have healthy annual support to cover operating expenses and a healthy reserve to plan for rainy days and emergencies. And when those accounts are healthy, the retirement plan for the nonprofit is an endowment that provides permanent support since the nonprofit never retires. The Community Foundation is proud to partner with 125 nonprofit organizations to host their endowments. Nonprofits can set up their own endowment funds, and individuals can also do that for their beloved nonprofits through current gifts or through their estates. The Stern Legacy Challenge saw both individual and organizational donors. We hold endowments on behalf of nonprofits as a win-win arrangement. Nonprofits can focus on their core missions while drawing upon the foundation's endowment expertise. Nonprofit endowment funds help diversify revenue streams and provide sustainable annual income. Supporting nonprofits is one of the most popular ways people want to leave a legacy through their estate plans. We hope to encourage people to make their estate plans through the second Stern Challenge, the Stern Legacy for Community Impact Match. Many people I talk to modestly dismiss their loyal support of a nonprofit. Oh, I only give a couple $100 a year, I say. And I assure them that that loyal, consistent support truly does make a difference. That every nonprofit, including ours, depends on that consistent, loyal giving. In fact, what happens when you're gone? That's where an endowed fund through your estate can continue to provide that support beyond your lifetime. Think of it as annuitizing your annual giving. So through the generosity of Helmut Stern and the Stern Legacy for Community Impact Match, documented planned gifts to benefit permanent funds at the foundation will be matched at 50% of the projected gift value, up to $50,000 per donor, through a new community impact fund named for the donor or the donor's loved one. That's right. Just for planning ahead in your will or estate, you have the opportunity to see current funds put to use in the community. Plus, you can participate in this program with a legacy gift of just $10,000 because a current community impact fund can be created at $5,000. We have only begun to share the story of Helmut Stern and look forward to continued response from the community. In fact, Helmut would have turned 100 this July, and early in September, we will be celebrating his centennial, the Stern Legacy Challenge, and his amazing legacy. So stay tuned to the website for more details, and you can find a wonderful video about this community icon there in the meantime, and request a kit with more info on the Legacy Challenge. We will also have these packets available in the lobby as you leave tonight. The permanent Helmut Stern Community Legacy Impact Fund is one way we are increasing impact in the community. Our Vice President for Community Investment, Jillian Rosen, is now going to tell us more about how the foundation works to continually enhance positive community impact in Washtenaw County.
So Neil shared about the ways our endowment allows us to meet the changing needs of our community in perpetuity. And part of serving our community is that the community itself helps determine how our dollars are invested back into Washtenaw County. Although I'm speaking tonight as the lead of the community investment team, I assure you that this work is only done through deep partnerships across our entire organization and expert counsel from dozens of community volunteers and partnering organizations. The beauty of the Community Foundation model is that local residents not only give to permanent funds in their community to benefit generations, as Shelley discussed, community members also decide how to allocate those dollars, starting with our board and extending to all of our committees. We operate competitive grant-making programs that distribute dollars from hundreds of unrestricted funds that are pooled together, like the one named for Helmut, and that can in fact be created through the Stern Legacy Challenge. We call these unrestricted funds community impact because at the core, that is what they do. They help create impact. Within our competitive grant-making programs, we have grants to support nonprofit capacity building, as well as funding that invests in even deeper success. A few years ago, we introduced general operating support grants. Yep, that's right. Those are the grants with no restrictions, and nonprofits can use them in ways they determine best to further their mission. Popular media and unfortunately some well-known scandals have conditioned some people to fear support of administrative overhead. But we're all friends here, so I'd like to share a secret with you. These are in fact the exact reasons up on the screen why we know and trust that our local nonprofits are able to achieve impact in our community. At the Community Foundation, we flipped that fear on its head and see all these as attributes for success, and hope you will as well. Providing unrestricted or general operating support does not mean that there's no accountability. It just means that we're holding nonprofits accountable to impact without restricting what they can do with the support. So what is overhead after all? Having deeply talented leaders, compensating staff well, offering high-quality programs and services that residents are calling for, office space, monitoring results, having someone answer the phone, and a system to recognize contributions and donations. These and many more functions that are simply part of the nonprofit excellence have unfortunately been negatively labeled as overhead. We're diligent in how we determine recipients for general operating support. Nonprofit organizations that apply to these 2-year, $30,000 awards have to demonstrate strength in leadership, finances, and programming. On the screen, you will see the 2018 recipients of these awards, and we are grateful to the dozens of donors who have created those unrestricted community impact funds that help make these high-impact grants possible. Capacity building funding also plays a critical role in designing for and achieving impact. And many of our general operating support grantees have in the past received capacity support. We know how valuable this is, and we'll be offering new rounds of capacity support later this year. So we have also increased our grant awards and the total amount we distribute, not only because of our record giving, but also because our Board of Trustees leveraged the recent significant growth to lower fees for those community impact funds by 0.25%. This may not sound like a lot, but the result is an immediate increase in our grant making of over $70,000 every single year. And we're not stopping there on our march towards impact. I'm excited to share with you that for the first time ever in our half-of-a-century history, we will be undertaking an entirely new way for the foundation to help make local impact. For 55 years, the foundation has used grants and scholarships as our primary tool for investing in positive community change. So let's remind ourselves what we're working with. So first, over generations and through much generosity, we have a permanent endowment of over $130 million dedicated to the people and places in Washtenaw County. And since the very beginning in 1963, we have granted out monies equivalent to 5% of our assets annually to local nonprofits and scholarships to students for impact. Meanwhile, 95% of our assets, that green portion up on our screen, are invested globally to maintain spending power, also known as grants, and increase in value. Well, what if we could do our investing alongside our granting? What might that look like? So thanks to a recent decision by our Board of Trustees, we are excited to introduce a new tool for impact that leverages our philanthropic endowment model. This tool is called impact investing and involves devoting a portion of our endowed assets to place-based community investments in our local economy. Our hope is to significantly increase our local impact with the same assets. We will start by investing 1% of our endowed assets through local investments that generate both community benefit and financial returns. While 1%, again, may not sound like a lot, that in fact represents $1.3 million in new local investments that have the potential to produce positive, sustainable, and economic impacts throughout Washtenaw County. We believe impact investing, prudently investing a portion of our assets in philanthropic capital while also preserving spending power over the long term will benefit our community. So to say it another way, we are taking a step in aligning more of our assets with our mission. And we're just starting out and will continually update you as we make progress in building a program. So we're on this journey because of the vision and the boldness of our board, and we believe now is the time because of our team comprising of staff and volunteers who guide our investments and our finances. I'm proud to introduce two such examples, Jamie Hunter, our CFO and VP for Operations, and our board treasurer, Cindy Byrne.
As donors, you can trust that we are being efficient stewards of the gifts and funds that you have entrusted us with. As one of the newer staff members, now in my 3rd year, I really enjoy meeting people when they come to our offices at the corner of Miller and Main. I like to point out that we're extremely fortunate because of our donors to own the space that we work in outright. We don't pay any rent, and all the recent renovations to our space were funded by some extremely generous private donations. We continue to benefit from the generosity and foresight of citizens over half a century ago who first established the Community Foundation. An amazing group of expert volunteers on our Investment and Finance Committee help guide our portfolio, and our Audit Committee ensures strong financial management and oversight. As Julian noted, impact investing is possible because of the strength of our endowment and because of the commitment of the Board of Trustees to maximizing the impact of the resources for the community's benefit. Cindy Byrne exemplifies this expertise and commitment as our treasurer.
As the stewards of community generosity, our goal is to ensure that donations to our permanent funds are prudently invested in order to generate impact forever. That's an amazing concept. Think about it. The donations we first received back in the 1960s continue to give back to the community today. And we now have a new generation who continue to build on the generosity of the past. Our goal is for our permanent funds to maintain their inflation-adjusted value over time while granting out into the community for significant impact. As you can see from our preliminary financials on the screen, and also on page 11 of your printed report, like everyone, we experienced market challenges, you might say, last year. But our investments have already more than rebounded in the first quarter of 2019. Most importantly, our investments have already returned over the long term in excess of our benchmarks for those investments. Look for our audited financials to be released on our website following the Board of Trustees approval at our June board meeting. I want to highlight two key elements from the financials. One is that our community's remarkable generosity continues. We had another strong consecutive year for giving, and we are so grateful to the hundreds of community members and organizations responsible for that. So give yourselves a big hand. Because of that generosity, we were also able to distribute a record number of grants and scholarships, more than $7.5 million. I may be transitioning off the board this year, and I am, and passing the baton as treasurer to Mike Stabler, but I remain committed to supporting the Community Foundation because I'm excited to see how new initiatives that the board has put in place, such as impact investing, will impact our community. To tell us more about our committed leadership, I'm pleased to invite to the podium Tim Wadhams, our current board chair, and Doug Weber, our incoming board chair.
I'd like to add my welcome and thank all of you for being with us tonight. As a lifelong resident of Ann Arbor, it's been an honor to serve as the chair of the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation. Lori and I have been blessed to be able to support a variety of outstanding nonprofits over the years. I'm in my second tour of duty, and from my standpoint, the Community Foundation is the best of the best. I know I'm preaching to the choir to a certain extent, but when I think about nonprofit leadership, impact, and innovation in our community, the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation is top of mind. As you can see on the screen and on the back of your printed agenda, we're welcoming a new slate of volunteer board members this year. I'm happy to announce that Bill Brinkerhoff, Laura Hayden, Fernando Ortiz, and Chuck Warpahowski, sorry Chuck, along with our new Youth Council representative Elena Garcia Schroeder, will join our board. Elena represents a special generational tradition of leadership as her grandmother, Patricia Garcia, was a former trustee. Our Youth Council, which brings together a diverse group of 25 students from Ann Arbor high schools to make a meaningful difference in our community through philanthropy, celebrates its 30th anniversary this fall. These young people determine how to award more than $80,000 in grants annually to support local youth initiatives. And they do so by conducting a community-wide needs assessment every 3 years. One member serves as a voting trustee, the role Elena will be assuming. We've enjoyed having Athul Nair as our voting youth council rep this year, and as you can see from our program, he is graduating and headed for a very bright future, as are our other graduating youth council members.
Thanks, Tim. In addition to these youth council graduates, we are graduating other board members along with Athul. As you can see up here, we're losing a few people. We're really grateful to Cindy Byrne, Ann Davis, Bob Laverty, and Nancy Margolis for their many years of service as trustees. As Cindy noted, she will be transitioning the treasurer role to Mike Stabler. Marie Devaney will continue as secretary, and Betsy Petoskey will become the vice chair. I truly have some big shoes to fill as I become chair this year. Following Tim, Tim exemplifies servant leadership and is an amazing example to all committed citizens who give of themselves and all of their resources so selflessly to help others. Please join me in thanking Tim for his service and welcoming our new trustees. As Jillian explained, all the trustees you see on the screen serve on committees. The foundation couldn't carry out its work and be representative of the community, however, without more than 400 volunteers who help make decisions regarding our investments and our grants and scholarships. That includes many of you in the room, and so thank all of you for your service.
In addition to the many volunteers that we have worked with to make decisions about grants and scholarships, for the last 4 years, since 2015, we've introduced another tool that continues to evolve and progress within our organization. We call that tool Community Voice. So what does Community Voice mean? In our world, Community Voice means we want to talk to and learn from the people we're setting out to help through philanthropy. We want to understand from the people we're aiming to serve, what are their aspirations in life? What do they define as enriched quality of life? And what are the challenges they face, and where can philanthropy help lower or eliminate some of those barriers? This approach recognizes the natural limitations that staff and board and others may have in fully comprehending the scope of a problem and the nature of a desired solution. When you hear me use the phrase data going forward, it is not just the quantitative data, which is important to us, the macro data and analyzing trends across the county. It's just as important that we introduce Community Voice as a qualitative form of data. Community Voice gives life to and specificity to some of that macro data and can really help over time start shaping more and more of how we make decisions at the Community Foundation. Most important, we view this as a tool that as it evolves over time will make the foundation more inclusive of residents of Washtenaw County and more participatory in how we think and how we conduct ourselves. So, how have we started our Community Voice work? Well, we think of it as doing it through community connectors because by definition, we're not the best people situated to surface aspirations and challenges. So we actually activate and hire people already embedded in the communities from whom we want to hear. These neighborhood and community connectors then catalyze conversations among community members, and we use that feedback, and gradually we're trying to build that feedback into all aspects of how the foundation operates. So let me share with you our most recent completed example. It was related to our Cultural Economic Development Initiative. So let me give you a broad overview of cultural economic development. This is actually a 7-year initiative, and we're still a few years away from completing it, where we set out to increase economic activity in Washtenaw County by investing in nonprofit arts and culture institutions. When we set out to do this, we actually very methodically measured the economic output of nonprofit arts and culture organizations. That output is $100 million of direct spending every year in Washtenaw County. It is a sector of significance. Since then, we've used the knowledge we gained from that initial work to make grants to catalyze new economic activity. In the ensuing years, we've actually catalyzed through our grants 59,000 new audience participants. That equates to $1.6 million in new economic activity. And another way of looking at it is, for every dollar we've granted through this program, we've generated more than $4 of economic activity, an excellent ROI indeed. As we When we set out to do cultural economic development, community voice was not yet a part of our way of being or thinking. So in the last 2 years, we decided, despite this being a 7-year program that was on track with the metrics we set for it, we wanted to introduce a community voice element. So what we did is we activated community connectors. And then 6 conversations were held, and these weren't just conversations about art, these were art-making activities by groups of people totaling over 100 Washtenaw County residents. Through these conversations, we identified, and actually thanks to the amazing Yen Azaro, illustrated many of the themes that emerged. I want to share with you 3 themes that were common across these 6 conversations. The first theme was, in addition to engaging with the arts in traditional art spaces, many residents in Washtenaw County wish to engage in and express artistic ideas in non-art spaces as well. Residents want to cultivate the artistic mindset of their fellow neighbors and community members, and they also want to collaborate across boundaries. Nonprofit, for-profit, artists, people, identities, geographies, and many other cross-community efforts. All of these convictions that we heard from feedback from these conversations, we actually turned into 2 new goals that we added to our cultural economic development work. The first goal is to activate the artistic and cultural identity of all people in the county. And our second goal is to ensure a fundamental level of access to the arts for everyone in Washtenaw County. Yeah. This is a great example of a program that we're very proud of, but that will be further enhanced because we took the time to engage in the community and hear what was said and change the way we're doing our work. We've since partnered with CultureSource. We're distributing up to $30,000 grants to both nonprofits and artists to pursue the 2 goals before you. Prior to the cultural economic development work in Community Voice, we also engaged in Community Voice initiatives around health, aging, and caregiving. I'm really excited about a current set of Community Voice conversations we're having in partnership with Washtenaw, My Brother's Keeper. We'll share more about that later in the year once that work's complete. And we're also excited that one of our affiliates, the Ypsilanti Area Community Fund, is engaging in deeper community conversations to inform their work. And that brings us to AAACF, which we call an affiliate of the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation. So again, going to some basic elements of how we operate, let me define what affiliate is. An affiliate is a virtual foundation that's effectively hosted by and within the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation. It has an advisory committee, it stewards its own set of funds, and it has its own impact statement, and as you'll see out in the community, often affiliates have their own branding. For many years, we actually hosted 2 affiliates, YACF as well as the Community Foundation of Plymouth. Last year, we finalized a very significant transition, and we handed off the Community Foundation of Plymouth to the Canton Community Foundation. This enables the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation to focus exclusively on Washtenaw County. We are very excited to be supporting the work of YACF as our sole affiliate and we're really excited about the impact statement that you see before you. I will read it out because we think it's a really important way of moving forward through YACF. Every family in the Ypsilanti area will thrive by gaining access to programs and services through collaborative partnerships across sectors that measurably increase health outcomes and educational attainment, leading to economic well-being. While we remain committed to hyperlocal and neighborhood-based work, there still remain bodies of work that we believe are best served by being countywide with central strategies and central staffing. To that end, we're very excited about the largest fund to date established to support our community scholarship program. Our community scholarship program is our flagship educational program, and we actually consider it to be a degree attainment program that's not just about scholarships, it's about college success coaching and so many other things. The Virginia A. Forshee Scholarship Fund for Washtenaw County will enable us to not only grow the cohorts of students who benefit every year from this program, it'll also enable us to recruit more deeply into the non-metro, more rural areas of Washtenaw County, and we are thrilled about that. Tim Wadhams, our board chair, mentioned our youth council, and while we're on the note of countywide effort, they are celebrating their 30th anniversary, and for the first 29 years of their existence, their membership was limited to Ann Arbor Public Schools for both historical reasons as well as, frankly, capacity reasons at the foundation. Thanks to the growth of the foundation, we're really excited to announce tonight that starting in the fall of 2019, eligibility for the Youth Council will be expanded to every school system in Washtenaw County. It was the Youth Council itself that year after year asked a really simple question: why are we only from Ann Arbor schools? It was community members pointing out that we held ourselves as a community-wide organization in the county and yet limited participation. So we are absolutely thrilled at the new potential for more participation in what we consider a fantastic way to teach young adults about philanthropy and leadership. Along the same lines, just as for years we have had a voting member from the Youth Council as a voting trustee on our Board of Trustees, I'm pleased to report that YACF will be adding a youth representative to its advisory committee as well. In that way, they're reflecting our ongoing and growing commitment to youth engagement and youth empowerment. So as long as we're on the topic of countywide work, as your community foundation for Washtenaw County, I'm really excited to share a little bit of a retrospective on a new body of work we initiated just in the past year that represents a new scale of impact for the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation. Vital Seniors, a community innovation competition, is a $2.5 million prize competition, the largest in North America, and the goal of the prize competition was to catalyze innovation in how we work with and serve older adults and their caregivers in Washtenaw County. I'm going to talk you through some of the elements of what transpired last year, culminating in prize awards, because we think it wraps together so many elements of what makes our model unique in Washtenaw County. So let me start with a local gift for local impact. All of this work was made possible when Trinity Health Senior Living Communities joined forces, when Glacier Hills Senior Living Communities joined forces with Trinity Health Senior Communities, and in the process decided voluntarily to make a significant gift that would benefit older adults, particularly vulnerable adults, in Washtenaw County in perpetuity. I always like to say this was not mandated. These institutions did not have to do that. They chose to do this as part of their legacy of joining together. So when you see current and former board members of Glacier Hills and their staff and their residents, please take a moment to thank them for this amazing act of generosity that produced $18.25 million in gifts to the community. I'm going to talk about the prize competition in just a moment, but the sister activity to the prize competition, which was $2.5 million, was the establishment of a permanent endowment of over $16 million. What does that mean? That means that every year, over $650,000 of new money will be distributed into the community to benefit older adults with a focus on vulnerable seniors. Let me reiterate that in 4 years, the permanent fund will produce more output than the $2.5 million prize competition. I can't begin to tell you how transformative this long-lasting permanent gift will be in leveraging endowment. Another really important element of both the gift as well as the prize competition was data. Data in a lot of different ways. And sorry, I should mention, because I don't mean to skirt over it, you just saw flash by you a picture of the volunteer advisory committee that is on hand to advise every aspect of how the Glacier Hills Legacy Fund distributes grants and how the prize competition distributed most of its prizes. So as Shelley mentioned, as Jillian mentioned, as Tim and Doug mentioned, we build community engagement into all aspects of how we do our work, and we're thrilled to work with this committee in the long term to make real differences in the lives of older adults in Washtenaw County. Now moving on to data. Data was an integral part of how we conceived of this work. In fact, even before there was a gift to the Community Foundation and the community, we spent 18 months working with Glacier Hills and with Trinity to examine the characteristics and trends in Washtenaw County regarding older adults. So you see a few snippets before you of some of the data that we surfaced. So for example, two that really jumped out at us is between 2010 and 2040, and as you saw in the fugue that was performed, it is projected that the senior population of 60 plus will double in Washtenaw County, and even more interestingly, the 75 plus population will triple. Now, that is not all negative. Older adults in our community have major economic impact. They are caregivers. They take care of family themselves. They are volunteers and leaders. But obviously, with that kind of demographic trend, challenges could also emerge that we should be proactive about instead of reactive to. And by revealing this data, we position ourselves to take action. That big data wasn't enough, so we've actually taken the next step, and we're starting to commission local new research to further explore how to craft solutions and address issues to the challenges we face. That new local research included partnership with Sue Ann Savis and the University of Michigan to commission a quantitative study that surveyed a broad range of seniors to help us understand where we should be focusing our energies. And we also commissioned an original qualitative study that was conducted by a local ethnographer who systematically interviewed dozens of older adults and their caregivers and produced a report telling some incredible stories of both inspiration and challenge. And I'll mention that the sampling of the Vital Fugue drama that you saw at the beginning, that was actually a way to express the findings in the ethnographer's report. We really wanted to make sure that this information went beyond just the people who live and breathe this every day, and we thought by commissioning this play, it'd be a great way of communicating it. If you go to our website, you can find 2 white papers we've now produced based on the research that is ongoing, as well as the full performance of the Vital Fugues that I really implore each of you to watch. You saw how powerful the first fugue was. Every single fugue builds on the prior fugue, and it's a great way of understanding the kind of work that we're doing at the Community Foundation. Another element that went into Vital Seniors was actually the way we support nonprofits. What I mean by that is we go beyond just paying for service delivery. Although we had 4 prize winners, we had 10 finalists vying for those prizes. Every one of those 10 finalists received a $20,000 capacity building grant to recognize that to develop their concepts, which were all innovative, they needed time and they needed capital. The reality is innovation costs money, requires R&D, and we want to start recognizing that at the foundation and investing in it so that we can get more innovation in all aspects, even beyond serving seniors. Another way in which we've provided new ways of support is we've actually formed a formal learning cohort among the prize winners of the Vital Seniors competition. They will meet on a facilitated basis with a facilitator, an evaluation expert, and a data expert to share peer learning, talk about their successes, and puzzle through their challenges together. Just as important in this whole process has been our inclusion of community input. Last November, we actually celebrated all the prize winners of the Vital Seniors competition. We presented the fugues for the first time, and before you, you can see the 4 prize winners of the 6 prizes that were offered. And the most amazing part of the competition was that 2 of the prizes, the People's Choice Awards, were determined by residents of Washtenaw County. Every finalist published a 30-second video that was the basis for the competition. Over 8,000 residents of Washtenaw County watched the videos and voted for 2 of the prize winners. I also especially want to congratulate the grand prize winner of Ypsilanti Meals on Wheels and Habitat for Humanity of Huron Valley, and congratulations to all the prize winners. There's a picture of the community celebration, and actually right now I'm really glad I didn't wear the same tie tonight that's on the screen, but I digress. And finally, I want to close with another element that we've infused into the Vital Seniors competition, and it was in the name. We wanted to catalyze innovation, and there's a couple of layers of innovation going on here. First and foremost, it's the innovations by the 4 prize winners. They are bringing new methodologies, new ideas, and new techniques into Washtenaw County that have not been done before, and we're very, very excited about that. We also layered on a new layer of innovation across the prize winners. We're working with the Washtenaw Health Initiative to create a shared data system across the prize winners that we hope to then expand to other senior-serving nonprofits. And here's the important part. It is not just collecting data. Over the next 3 to 4 years, we hope that this data can be used in a way to actually predict health and other trend outcomes among those we're serving rather than wait for things to happen. And in that way, maybe we can better serve the seniors who are working with our many great nonprofits. So stay tuned for that. And the final innovation I'll mention was actually more of an internal one, an innovation within the foundations to be able to communicate information better. We commissioned the Limelight production in hopes of conveying the aspirations and challenges of some of our older adult neighbors. And I'm pleased to announce that although it was focused on Washtenaw County, this play was noticed by many others. Just in the last month, it's been presented at a statewide convening of health nonprofits, and later this year, it will be presented in New York City at a national conference. So congratulations to Limelight Productions for that. So listen, we've covered a lot of ground. I hope you've gotten a sense of where we're headed, our deep, deep sort of commitment to engagement, to inclusiveness, a lot of the exciting work that we're doing. We're firing in all cylinders, and I want to thank all of you for being a part of it. We want you to stay a part of it going forward as well. Never hesitate to contact us, and let's keep talking about what excites you about the good in our community and what we can do to make it a better community. Sorry about that. And actually, I am going to concede the last word tonight. I want to concede the last word to one of the grantees in our Cultural Economic Development Program. So to close us out, please join me in welcoming Tanya Reza with Untold Stories of Liberation and Love. Tanya?
Hello? Good? Okay. All right. This poem is called Home. Home. Home is melody. Onions hitting hot oil, grandmothers singing to babies lullabies in a language you heard often and now know. Language spoken in films watched, mom and dad, eyes transfixed, shedding tears, silent drops. Films with lively piano, polished streets, old school architecture, white stone, steel beams, arches and domes, crosses, minarets. Uncles speak softly of those buildings and streets, now rubble, sand. Next breath, uncles scream, cheer at the TV. The state team scored a three-pointer. Home is a hug, smell of cardamom, turmeric, mom's reading glasses on 20-year-old wood coffee table. Parents, now grandparents, watch 4- and 6-year-olds pretending to be cartoon pigs. Everyone laughs. They are safe. You remember old photographs. Mom's long, jet black, silky hair, olive skin, red lipstick, tight jeans. Father, tanned, thin, bell bottoms, several buttons on his shirt undone. Too young to fly across an ocean, too brown and too broken English, always the other. Leaving home to find home in the place that destroyed home. Back home, women and men slaving for pennies per hour, mass production, poisoned water, allow my parents' children to pay $5 a t-shirt. Home is a promise. No rainfall of bullets, no thunder of bombs. Baby boy resting by you has a nightmare. You soothe him. He belongs here. You do too. Thank you.